My own investigation into Patrick Brown has taken some time and it's been difficult to piece everything together, but this is everything I have found out about the Patrick Brown allegations.
You profit from fear and hate, hoarding wealth and amassing power. The walls have been overlaid.
Nothing has been proven or disproven in a court of law. Everything right now is theoretical. All we can do is weigh the evidence.
Ladies and gentlemen, a couple hours ago, I learned about troubling allegations about my conduct and character, and I'm here tonight to address them.
It was at the end of January this year when Patrick Brown, the leader of the Progressive Conservative Party of Ontario, had his entire world torn down around him. CTV News was about to publish a story. Two anonymous women were accusing him of sexual assault, dating back over a decade. Within hours, Patrick Brown addressed the claims, claiming his innocence in front of the media as he fought to hold back tears, before he was chased through provincial parliament by the press vultures. Hours after this, he resigned as leader of the PC party. This was heavily influenced by the PC leadership, who believed that the allegations against him had damaged the party's image. They abandoned him, as did his closest allies. He was alone in his fight. The PC party scrambled to figure out their next step. They had popular support garnered under Brown, which it turned out about 70,000 members were either illegitimate or fake, according to the PC leadership. They wished to keep that support, especially with the provincial election just months away. But who was to lead? So a hasty month-long leadership campaign began, and we saw a few recognizable faces throw their names in. But this left Patrick Brown alone, his reputation and career almost completely destroyed. Yet he had managed to cling to his provincial party membership, despite the incumbent leader, Vic Fideli, calling for his removal from the caucus. Patrick returned to Barrie, his hometown. He stayed with his family, avoided the press, and even many of his hometown friends. He even admitted to hiding his identity when he went out in public. Defeated, he didn't know what to do. With no help from the press, in fact they were the ones stroking the flames of this controversy, Patrick Brown began preparing his own defense. He remained in hiding over the next few weeks, researching, talking to locals, collecting evidence. On February 6th, he resurfaced briefly on Twitter, once again saying he was innocent and that, quote, the truth will come out, end quote. There was a mixed support, some claiming that they had his back, others claiming he was guilty, to put it nicely. 3 days later, Brown returned to the public officially in an explosive interview with the Toronto Sun. In the interview, he addressed both allegations against him, providing evidence and witness testimony. This interview was only available through the publications. 2 days later, on February 11th, he took to his Facebook page to lay out everything he had discovered during his independent investigation. The first allegation against Brown goes back to 2007, where it is claimed by the accuser that they met Brown in a bar. They went back to Brown's place, up to his room on the second floor, where he closed the door, pulled out his dick, and asked for a BJ. After performing it for a short time, then stopping, the complainant left Brown's home and made her way to a nearby friend's place. A few problems arose from this version of events, the first of which is the defendant today is 29 years old. She was reported to be in high school at the time. This would make her an adult at the time of the incident, but furthermore, it is confirmed through her yearbook that she had graduated at the time of the alleged incident. It was falsely reported in the initial story by the CTV that the defendant was in high school. Wording it this way also has the psychological effect of making the reader assume the woman was underage at the time. Since her age was not reported at the time of the incident, the only available info on the age of the defendant in the initial report was that line, that she was in high school. Also, she said that she had was taken into Brown's bedroom on the second floor. Yet, at this time, Brown was living in a duplex and was only rented out the bottom apartment, which was a single floor. It had been confirmed by a Barrie real estate professional involved with the property at the time that the bedroom didn't have a door. It's what they called an open concept. Since both of these specific details were wrong, this seriously puts into doubt the story that is being told. Brown has also provided affidavits from former staff to attest to the information Patrick Brown has put forward. Before we move on to the second allegation, it is worth noting that the extreme ineptitude coming from the reporters of the CTV article. The story is full of factual mistakes and misleading information. Saying the defendant was in high school without any more context is quite misleading and factually wrong. The details of the house were completely wrong. Even if the bedroom does turn out to have a door, the fact that she said she went upstairs to a fictional floor is damning. The defendant was 18 years old at least and was drinking under the legal age. She performed the act when asked. Her statement on the situation was, quote, "He pulled down his pants, said, I don't know if he said suck my dick or put this in your mouth, but something along those lines. It was like a controlling thing. Like I just remember I wanted to go, but that wasn't happening. He's an old, single politician preying on young girls. He's just a sad person." It was revealed that today, on February 14th, that this first accuser has come out and confirmed that not only was she not in high school at the time, but she was in fact at legal drinking age of 19 years old. After Brown's version of events surfaced, Post Media tried to contact the woman, who turned out to be in Indonesia for the next month. On Friday, February 9th, the woman removed all content from her Facebook and didn't respond to requests for comment. The second allegation came from one of his staffers who claimed that the incident took place after a charity event put together by Patrick Brown. They originally met a few months earlier, but in March 2013, the defendant emailed Brown looking for a job, which he gave her. She was 18 at the time. It was in August of that year the two found themselves at the after party of the charity event. At this point, she was drinking, but was legal at that point. It was in August of that year the two found themselves at the after party of the charity event. She was drinking, but was legal at this point. They made their way to Brown's home, ended up in his bedroom to look at photographs. One of Brown's friends was initially there, but then left, after which she alleges, quote, "The next thing I knew, he's kissing me, sitting beside me, kissing me, and then I just kind of froze up. He continued to kiss me, and he laid me down on the bed and got on top of me. I remember consciously trying to not move my mouth, and I was just not moving, so I was laying there immobile while he kissed me. I felt like it was sexual. I could feel his erection on my leg when he was on top of me, so I felt that it would have gone to sexual intercourse if I had not done anything. I would characterize that as sexual assault. That scenario, like of a very inebriated young employee in the bedroom of her boss, alone with him, who hadn't had a drop of alcohol all night, just that's an intimidating situation, and I was not sure what to do about it. I didn't think that there was any sort of recourse that I could take, because I did think this is something that in maybe another job I would go to maybe HR about. But I didn't even know who HR was in this context, particularly being in a constituency office. I just didn't know what to do." End quote. After the incident, she requested a drive home from Brown, which he did. Soon after, she received a raise and was asked to accompany him on a trip to India. She said she spoke to her father about this version of events. 3 other people close to her also confirmed that she recounted the incident with Brown to them in the months that followed. When asked why she continued to work with Brown after the events, she said, quote, "The reason I kept working there was I wanted to in some way and try, and despite the fact that this happened, I didn't want to let this impede on what I saw as a career opportunity." End quote. She goes on to allege that one of her jobs the second summer was driving Brown around, where he made sexual remarks to her, going as far as to tell her stories of his sexual exploits. Brown's friend was contacted by Post Media to comment on the situation, to which he said was false. He said he went to the bedroom to charge his phone and at no point saw Brown and the woman alone together. Furthermore, he also said that he had told CTV News this, yet they did not report this in the original story. Michaela Patterson is a close friend of Brown's. At the time of the second allegation, she was Patrick Brown's girlfriend. She was present in the house the night of the alleged attack, in the very next room, and she paints a very different picture from that night. Patterson claims the defendant was in fact infatuated with Brown, following him around all over the party. When everybody returned to Brown's house, Patterson claimed there was no apparent distress from anyone, including the woman, who eventually asked Brown for the drive home. Patterson also claimed that Brown is not the type of guy to commit sexual assault or try to force himself on someone. When speaking about that night, Patrick Brown claims that the woman kissed him first. He says he went up to his room to check his social media because they had the charity event that day, and the woman followed him up there. After she tried to kiss him, Brown stopped her and alleges that he told her that he would drive her home, which he did. Brown goes on to claim that the staffer who is leveling these allegations never let on that there was a problem and up until recently was liking his social media posts. When Post Media contacted the second woman, she said, quote, "I've already given my account of the events that took place that evening, and I stand by it." End quote. The initial story by CTV News was written by two journalists. The first is Glenn McGregor, who is CTV National News senior political correspondent. He was involved in the robocall story that took place during the 2011 federal election and the Senate spending scandal. The second journalist is Rachel Aiello, who is the Ottawa News Bureau online producer. She has much less experience and has yet to crack a serious case, excluding the Brown story. Frank's Magazine Ottawa reported that Chelsea Nash is the second accuser of Patrick Brown. I first came across a blog on Facebook written by James D. Fiore, a writer of Huffington Post. I reached out to James to ask him how he uncovered this information, and he pointed me toward Frank's Magazine, based out of Ottawa, Ontario. It was in here where Nash's identity was revealed. This article also had a photo of a young Nash posing for a photo with a young Patrick Brown. While Nash does look different today than she did back then, if you compare the nose, the cheekbones, and the jawline of the old photo and more recent photos, it is Chelsea Nash. If this is true and she is Brown's second accuser, then this brings up some interesting questions. Chelsea Nash is a reporter for the Hill Times. She has numerous articles that have been published. We can confirm who this Chelsea Nash is by comparing her information and picture to multiple different social media accounts. Her credentials list this woman in the picture as the Chelsea Nash we are discussing, while also lists her as a reporter for the Hill Times. Her Twitter states she is a student at Carleton University's Media Studies, and an account on her can be found on Carleton's website for journalism and communication. Ironically, it states in the bio of her Carleton account, quote, "Her research interests include the use/rejection of feminism as a political tool," end quote. There was an article written in the Ottawa Citizen on January 30th by Andrew Cohen. Andrew Cohen is a professor of journalism and world affairs at Carleton University, and at one point was the professor of the staffer making the allegations against Brown. From Chelsea Nash's Carleton account, we can see she is in the journalism department. Over the course of 2017, especially in April 2017, Chelsea Nash wrote a slew of articles in the Hill Times about sexual assault and harassment in the political system. These range from talking about behavior in Parliament to the difficulty of reporting harassment in the political sphere. Chelsea's Twitter account has been protected. If you look back to Chelsea's Facebook page, all of the content on her Facebook page has been removed. However, a photo still available online shows herself and the CTV reporter Rachel Aiello on her Facebook, showing a prior connection with the two women. This shows an immediate conflict of interest in the initial reporting. The journalist did not disclose the fact that she had a prior relationship with one of the accusers. That is not all. There are articles that have come out that show collaborative work between Chelsea Nash and Rachel Aiello. Chelsea Nash's credentials and writing history is available on a site called muckrack.com. Several of these collaborative works were listed on there. However, what was interesting was the fact that every time I click on one of these links to go to the original article, I was hit with one of these screens. Every other hyperlink that was available on the site would link me to the original article, but any collaborative work between Rachel and Chelsea came up empty. I hardly believe that this is a coincidence. There are other pictures of Chelsea Nash and Rachel Aiello available. In the blog post written on Facebook by James D. Fiore, there is a picture of Rachel and Chelsea standing together with a shirt that says, quote, "The future is female," end quote. Some online are even theorizing that Rachel Aiello and Chelsea Nash were at one point in a romantic relationship, but I haven't been able to find anything to back this up. That being said, in his Facebook post on February 11th, Patrick Brown referenced the two women being in a romantic relationship. So far, the accusations against Patrick Brown are not standing up to scrutiny. The first allegation had several factual errors, including the layout of his house and the age of the woman involved. The second allegation, which is significantly more detailed story, first were countered by several other people that were present that night, even going as far as to suggest that she was the one pursuing Brown, rather than the other way around. We also see a long and extensive personal and business relationship between Rachel Aiello, the reporter of the story, and Chelsea Nash, Patrick Brown's accuser. There was very little fact-checking done in this story, despite the fact that this was supposedly an investigation long in the works. The editors did not catch anything, and even award-winning, scandal-breaking journalist Glenn McGregor allowed a story this poorly done to slip through his fingers and go to the presses. In fact, he was the one interviewing Chelsea Nash for CTV, meaning he stood face-to-face with her and let the fake story go through. Even if Rachel Aiello did not work with Chelsea Nash for this story, her involvement with any part of this story is suspicious. The fact that CTV did not disclose their relationship is suspicious. Now, on a Facebook page called Justice for Patrick Brown, they are suggesting that Rachel Aiello has been taken off the air by CTV News, saying it is unconfirmed information, but that they have received this information from multiple sources. This same group has started up a petition on change.org in defense of Brown's due process. Whether it's true that Rachel Aiello has been taken off the air by CTV News or not, I'm not sure. If these allegations against Brown turn out to be false, then we can chalk this up to the second serious fake news story that has come out of CTV News since the new year. First was the hijab hoax, where they full out deleted the article linking to their original fake story, and now this story against Patrick Brown. And let's not forget, this story came out just before the end of January, meaning CTV News would have pushed two major false stories in a month. The second one destroying the reputation and career of a rising politician, even if he had brought in many illegitimate PC memberships. Since the discrepancies in the story have begun to come to light, CTV has stated that it stands by its original story. These allegations still have not been proven or disproven in a court of law, and so neither can we know for certain yet that this is a hit job. We also can't be 100% sure yet that Chelsea Nash is Brown's accuser. For the time being, we can only weigh the available evidence. On one hand, we have the anonymous allegations with not much more to go on than the stories told by the accusers. There has not even been a police report filed yet. On the other hand, we have sworn affidavits about the events that took place in the first allegation. We have experts that are verifying the layout and location of Brown's house at that time, which goes against the accuser's accounts of the events. We have confirmed inaccuracies in the reporting of these events, since it was the CTV reporters that claimed she was in high school at the time despite the fact she has graduated. On February 14th, the first accuser came forward to admit that she was in fact graduated and of legal drinking age at the time of the allegations, almost 3 weeks after her initial comments, but says she stands by everything else she said. It seems to me that as the factual errors have come out, she is now forced to change her story. On top of this, the CTV article went on to say that she had received backlash online, but were trying to suggest that this was due to sexism and misogyny rather than people angry that the stories were falling apart and that they may have been lying. Also in the article, CTV News states, The first accuser maintained the incident happened during a visit to Brown's home with a mutual friend. That friend told CTV News he had no recollection of the night. This is the first time any mention of a friend being in the house at the time when the first accuser alleged the incident went down. The allegation goes on to state that the first accuser ran out of Brown's home, neglecting to state what happened with this mutual friend in Brown's house with her. The friend also states they have no recollection of the night. That does not bode well for accuser number 1. The first accuser made a statement on the lashback she received. Quote, "The comments made to me on social media were demeaning, victim-blaming, and misogynistic. My privacy was invaded, my character was assassinated, and I was subjected to gratuitous slurs about my private life and relationships. The comments that I have been subjected to ignore altogether the abuse of power by an older, sober man over a young, intoxicated woman." She now says that she was of legal drinking age and out of high school. Brown was a conservative member of parliament at the time when the alleged incident happened. "It has been a painful ordeal," her lawyer David Butt said. Quote, "Just the backlash, the misogyny, the hatred, the online trolling of false, demeaning, and very hateful things has really taken a toll," end quote, he told CTV News in an interview. The emphasis on the misogyny, the hate, and so forth makes me believe that this statement is being overblown. I do not know who this first accuser is, so I cannot verify if this online abuse is true or false. But I do imagine there are people who are angry, especially as the stories have fallen apart, and it is quite possible that she received some hate online. The article also goes on to say that CTV ensured there is no prior relationship with any of the accusers. If the second accuser turns out to be Chelsea Nash, then this is 100% a lie by the broadcast company. Maybe this next part is nothing aside for a reporting error by the Ottawa Citizen, but they stated in their article the day after the accusations broke that the second accuser was a federal MP who Brown assaulted while they were extremely drunk. But this would be a big factual mistake by the Citizen. There's a big difference between the staffer and a federal MP. For the second allegation, we have a name. From this name, we can confirm several key details about the accuser. Andrew Cohen's article shows it was one of his students. We know he is a professor at Carleton University for journalism, the same thing Chelsea Nash is taking at Carleton. We can confirm that Chelsea Nash was a reporter for the Hill Times and has done several articles with Rachel Aiello, the CTV reporter who broke the story. We can confirm that the two have a personal relationship based on photos still available on Facebook. The links to the articles on Muckrack that show collaborations between Rachel and Chelsea lead to a dead end. Her account on the events of that night are being scrutinized by other witnesses present at the time. True, these people who are refuting the account are Patrick Brown's friend, and therefore their account should be taken with a grain of salt and should be scrutinized as well to make sure that they are authentic. When the events came out, many on Twitter using the hashtag Barrie were saying that Brown's behavior was well known to the people of Barrie. They would reference the Bank, a bar that was co-owned by Brown until it closed in 2015 and reopened as Hooligans. Brown was apparently always around the bar, serving up drinks to young, pretty women, despite the fact he does not drink whatsoever, a promise he made to his mother years ago. Since then, many more have come out in defense of Patrick Brown, describing him as a stand-up member of the community. He has been said to be very active in the local charity scene, and even showed up for an event in Barrie on February 11th, a couple weeks after the allegations broke. It is still unclear as to what it was really known by the PC leadership about the Brown allegations. According to official reports, they were aware a few hours before Brown found out that something bad was about to hit their leader, but they weren't sure what these allegations would be. Vic Fedeli, the new interim leader, stated that he was going to, quote, root out the rot, end quote, in the PC party, then overturning 2 MPP nominations from the Scarborough area, Thenusha Pirani and Karma McGregor, as being illegitimate. However, less than 24 hours after the PC party made this statement, Lisa McLeod came forward to say that she had informed the leadership of allegations against Brown weeks beforehand. She is one of the MPPs pushing to have Brown removed from the Ontario caucus. Apparently, McLeod's concerns were dismissed because the allegations were unfounded. McLeod had heard rumors of inappropriate touching and multiple girlfriends. When speaking to the press on the matter, she stated, quote, "There were lots of things that were percolating that a lot of people heard. People would tell me things, so I would float it up the flagpole to the central campaign. Certainly, when I heard issues about women, I would bring them forward," end quote. She said she raised the matter with officials before Christmas. However, this statement from McLeod wasn't entirely accurate. McLeod clarified that she didn't share the rumors with senior campaign staff, party management, or anyone within the caucus, but rather with her friend Dimitri Sudas, a longtime Tory insider who was volunteering on Brown's campaign and had once been director of communication for Prime Minister Stephen Harper. She had expressed concerns 2 or 3 times before Christmas, but did not provide names. Sudas is set to lead the PC party's war room during the June 7th election. I'm not sure if this has changed due to recent events. However, Sudas said he did not report McLeod's concern up the party's chain of command or ask Brown about them. Quote, "According to Ms. McLeod, these rumors were given to her by Eric Lindros," end quote, he tweeted. She did not provide solid details and seemed reluctant to do so, but this seemed to be for the protection of the women. The real problem with McLeod's statement is the fact that she went to a party volunteer with these issues, who then instructed her to take her findings to the PC caucus and to Brown himself, yet she didn't do this. In response to this, McLeod says that she had little faith in Brown's people. She later on went to state that she believes women who come forward to the press to make accusations such as this. Some are suggesting that this knowledge of Brown's indiscretions was an open secret, while others are expressing their shock over the allegations, making it difficult to determine which is true and which is false. From what I can tell, Lisa McLeod's information was regarding these 2 women who came forward. It doesn't seem as if she is referencing any other victims. Personally, I feel as if there were any more victims, they would have come forward by now. One thing I've noticed from the #MeToo hashtag is that one accusation seems to open the floodgates for other victims to come forward. If the allegations against Brown turn out to be false, then what does this say for those, such as McLeod, that are suggesting that his behavior is well known? Is it a deliberate character assassination? I believe that Patrick Brown is what you would call a player, a womanizer, a man whore perhaps, and that in this day and age it is being muddied as sexual harassment. It is possible that there has been misconduct by Patrick Brown in the past, but I don't believe these current allegations are holding up. If the allegations turn out to be true, I will gladly rescind my defensive stance of Brown, but so far, the allegations to me are falling down like a house of cards. Many have used the word coup to describe the events that took place after the party's allegations were released. Considering how fast Patrick Brown was forced out as party leader, the abandonment of his inner circle, and the whole party throwing him under the bus before any details of the allegation had been analyzed or reported to police, many believe that the leading establishment of PC candidates used this opportunity to take charge of the party. After the allegations came out, campaign manager Andrew Boddington, chief of staff Ali Khan Velshi, and deputy campaign manager Dan Robertson all resigned from Brown's staff. Also, Nick Bergamini, staff Ken Bosencool, and deputy campaign manager Joshua Workman all tweeted their resignation. Right now, Ali Khan Velshi's LinkedIn account still has him listed as chief of staff of the official opposition, serving under Vic Fideli. Campaign manager Andrew Boddington moved over to Caroline Mulrooney's staff, as did deputy campaign manager Dan Robertson. Brown's closest advisor and longtime confidant, Waleed Soliman, is rumored to have moved over to Mulrooney's camp as well. After Brown stepped down, the PC leadership were contemplating installing a new leader without a leadership race. But this was removing the decision from progressive conservative card-carrying members who pay to have a say in the democratically elected party. This received heavy lashback from both members and non-members alike, who saw this as an extreme breach of process. This forced the party to roll back this decision and call a hasty leadership election. As the Toronto Sun describes, quote, "That message was then communicated to an official executive meeting. It was not received well. At least not by a handful of caucus members who made it clear they didn't want a leadership before the election. They were afraid that union activists, social conservatives, and right-wingers, as one source put it, would take the reins of the party." This seems pretty clear considering the price tag of over $100,000 entry fee for the leadership race. The politician leaders are trying to keep the common people's voices out of the running. Curious that the Conservative Party would take such an aggressive stance against their own right-wing constituency. Initial reports had Ottawa area MPP Lisa McLeod, Nipissing MPP Vic Fideli, former Postmedia chairman and candidate Rod Phillips, and candidate Caroline Mulroney were all considering throwing their names into the leadership race. However, all but Mulroney eventually pulled out. What is worrisome is the fact that the PC leadership race is going to be an electronic online vote after the PC party's website got hacked. Along with the reluctance of the party insiders to throw the election, we should be worried that the results will be tampered with, especially with the reports of ballot stuffing in the PC caucus just over the last couple years and recent revelations that 70,000 PC memberships may be ineligible. Caroline Mulroney was the name put forward by those who believe this is a PC coup, that Vic Fideli was chosen to be interim leader and Mulroney was to be installed as the new party leader soon after. Considering the support of Mulroney from the political elite and even the federal establishment, as well as her unpopularity amongst the common people, if she was to be installed as the new leader, this would be very suspicious to me. It would be to the detriment of the PC party for these allegations against Patrick Brown to be proven false. If that were the case, then Patrick Brown could rightfully sue for wrongful dismissal and could easily win the court case, as the PC party axed him without a proper investigation. CTV News would also be in trouble because they destroyed Brown's reputation and career. So I don't think we can rely on the PC leadership to come forward with information that could exonerate Patrick Brown. The media will not help him either, as birds of a feather flock together. This story would look bad on all news broadcasters, not just CTV, so I don't expect much help from them. It will be on Patrick Brown and the rest of us independent investigators to find out the truth of these allegations. It is possible that as Canada makes its move to the political left, the PC party is making that move with it, leaving behind the social conservatives, libertarians, and other right-wing philosophies, preferring instead the red Tories and more liberal-leaning voters. The PC leadership, its preference for Mulroney, is all about moving the party even more to the center and eventually towards the left. Before long, if it's not already, the PC party will be considered a center-left party. More disturbing, Patrick Brown is the first domino to fall. This is the beginning of the end of due process in our society. Now, many federal politicians are saying that allegations alone should remove a politician from their role, and an article in the Ottawa Citizen was full out saying there is no due process in politics. Ironically, Elizabeth May is still in charge of the federal Green Party, despite allegations of bullying and abuse in the workplace. May has invited in a third party to investigate, but if allegations are enough alone to remove a politician from power, then she should not be able to lead a party with these allegations hanging over her head. This is a paraphrase of a quote used against Patrick Brown. While May's allegations don't involve any sexual misconduct, the same logic should apply. While our elected officials should be held to a higher standard, it is obvious that there is a separate set of rules for the political elite and the rest of us, as seen in the difference between Patrick Brown and Elizabeth May. Brown is an outsider. May is an establishment politician, even if it is the Green Party, and it is tiny. The powerful will always guarantee that the game is rigged. If the powerful are losing some protections such as the right to due process, Why should we believe they would then guarantee us that protection? They will change the nature of the game so no one has the right to due process. Before long, an allegation in the average workplace will be enough for someone to lose their job. Patrick Brown is the first one to go down. If someone in power can so easily be torn down without the proper rule of law, what chance do the rest of us have?